All right, we are back. Thank you for jumping back in. Going to give a moment for everyone to come back in. And we try to take a break because Facebook has a nasty habit of cutting off on people mid-sentence. So for those of you just coming in, we are reading from Getting Serious About Getting Married by Debbie Macon. And we are on the subject of saying no to the dating game. And I'm going to go ahead and set our timer so we can end right at noon. All right. So, first part we talked about was there's a lack of equality that dating promotes. There's a lack of equality that dating promotes. Here's another one. And if you are a gentleman on the broadcast today, you can feel free to tap the screen, or if I am following you and you are following back, you are in the space to be able to make comments today. Here is another piece about saying no to the dating game. She says, dating gives men too much time and too little accountability. Now, if you agree, you can tap the screen. If you disagree, you can write me and say, I disagree. Dating gives men too much time and too little accountability. All right, so I got one person that agrees. Let's take a look at this story here. Teresa dated the same guy all the way through college. After graduation, he decided to pursue a career that required more schooling and training. They talked of marriage and a life together, so she waited for him to propose. And waited. After 10 years of dating each other exclusively, he said that he was sorry, he just wasn't ready to get married. When men say that they're just not ready to get married after dating one woman for a long period of time, it often goes unchallenged. Now, if you agree with that, you can tap the screen. I'll say it again. When men say that they're just not ready to get married after dating one woman for a long period of time, it often goes unchallenged. I'm going to have to agree with her, because I've seen it happen. And nobody challenges the fact that you wasted 2, 5, 10 years of one woman's life waiting on you to say yes to her. It goes unchallenged. But if I was a big brother or a father or an uncle, somebody would have to tell me something. Oh my goodness. She says, I believe that this kind of behavior is foolish. In the Bible, there is no escaping that foolishness is a sin. Sidebar, yes. While many people reading Proverbs assume that the fool is recklessly squandering only wealth, I believe the actions of a fool go further. Wealth can always be reacquired, but what about those who squander their youth and someone else's youth along with their own? Lost time can never be regained. But I have issues I need to deal with before getting married, a man says. That is no excuse. Taking care of them on your own time before you start dating and end up wasting someone else's time. But men don't feel the compulsion to give you a disclaimer up front. Hey, I'd love to ask you out, but before you say yes, I have to tell you that I get cold feet every time I hear the M word. I'm just not ready for that kind of commitment. And I have a few other issues to work out too. So you might be in for a rough ride with me if we start dating. How about dinner on Friday? Tap the screen if you've ever heard a man give a disclaimer before he asks for a date. Okay? So some men will be honest enough and they will say, I've got a lot going on in me right now. But the majority don't necessarily give you any disclaimer. They just want to date you. And then maybe through the dating, you find out that there's some issues going on, right? Men often say they don't know what they're looking for in a wife, and that dating someone for a year or two gives them a chance to figure it out. I have seen this question several times from godly men. That's who I'm talking to right now. All right? I've seen this question several times. It's posted on social media. It's usually somebody will come on and they're talking about dating and they're talking about marriage, and they'll say, well, what quality should I look for in a woman? That is oh my gosh. How can I put it? How can I be kind today? To me, that is a procrastination question. Because as a man of God, whose responsibility it is to find a wife, you should be searching the scriptures. God does not put a blindfold on men and say, go find a wife. He doesn't. If you read the scriptures, it shows you what the qualities of a godly woman is. Start at Proverbs 31 if you need a starting place. All right? Proverbs 31 is actually called the ideal woman, meaning these are some characteristics of godly women. You may not find all those things. I know we have people that take it to the extreme and do a checklist on Proverbs 31 and says the woman I marry better fit all of these things. But it's really a guideline. She's an ideal woman. There are qualities in there that it points out. So when someone says they are looking for a wife and they need 1 to 2 years to figure it out, no. Do some study. Look into the scriptures. Look at the characteristics of a godly wife. And don't use a woman as your guinea pig of figuring it out. Because if you're looking and you're observing the women that are in your life right now, observe before you approach. That's what Boaz did. And we know everybody says Boaz is dead. We get it. Boaz is dead, but his character is not. Boaz observed Ruth. He observed her. He asked questions in the community about her before he approached her. All right? So it wasn't just this thing of, I'm going to engage with her and then I'm going to figure out while I'm engaging in this relationship, I'm going to figure out if I want to be with her. That's called wasting someone's time. But it happens all the time. In most cases, it doesn't take long to figure it out. He has delayed the inevitable, wasting time. It's not that men don't ever want to get married. There are men, young men, who want to pursue marriage and family as quickly as possible. But so many men have set up a deadline way off in the future and have no problem dating a number of women between finishing college and reaching their marriage deadline. Now, if you're a man on here and you don't mind, put up a number of what maybe your number maybe that you have said, I want to be married by this age. I know for my husband, I think his number was 30, I believe. So sometimes men will put up a number, or they'll have in their mental state, I want to be married by 30, or I want to have a stable home life by 30. I want to have a solid job. You know, I want to be able to provide, take care of my family. I want to be a homeowner by a certain age. And so if you're setting a deadline of when you want to be married, what's happening in between, if you're using the dating model, is you're dating a number of women in between finishing college and reaching your marriage deadline. What does that do for the women that you're dating in between that you're not necessarily serious about? And then it goes back to what she said about that puts women on an unequal footing. At that point, it seems like they often marry the next woman to come along, after years of wait and see if someone better comes along. They aren't even particularly good negotiators in securing the best possible wife. Now, if you know someone that is married or that got married because they met their time deadline and they said it's about time for me to get married, you can tap the screen. If you know anyone that said it's about time for me to get married and they basically married the next person that came along. It wasn't necessarily the best possible match, but they got married because they said it was about time for them to get married. All right? So, she says, I have a hard time believing that men today meet the one at 29, 34, 38, when men in the past did the exact same thing in their early 20s. In the not too distant past, shame was involved if a man went out with a woman more than 3 or 4 times without the intention of marriage. His reputation was mud, and other women would refuse him once they were made aware of his uncommitted nature. With no sense of shame or purpose today, men can hop, skip, jump from one girlfriend to the next, while women are told to wait on the Lord. It's amazing that a man can be in the dating game for 3, 4, 5, 10, or 20 years and have absolutely nothing to show for it. If a man were to conduct his own business in the same manner, the IRS would clamp down after 3 years and declare the business to just be a hobby. I'm going to read that again. It's amazing that a man can be in the dating game for 3, 4, 5, 10, or 20 years and have absolutely nothing to show for it. If a man were to conduct his own business in the same manner, the IRS would clamp down after 3 years and declare the business to just be a hobby. So you have a lot of preachers, especially single preachers, who are treating their relationship life like Hobby Lobby. And I don't see where mature male leadership is calling these leaders out. I don't see it. I don't see it. So, someone correct me if I'm wrong. You can email me. You can email me and say, hey, you're wrong. Here's evidence. But what I do see is I see a lot of single men, especially in ministry, who are dating, and then they'll not be seeing that person, then they'll date somebody else. They'll not be seeing that person. They'll date somebody else. They'll not be seeing that person. And at some point, somebody has got to call them into accountability. Okay. Maybe I'm talking to the choir. It is precisely because most men know they can keep running a negative balance sheet without giving any explanation that this behavior continues. They don't have to demonstrate an active search or even a good understanding of women who suit them or show that they have the end goal of marriage in mind. When we date and settle for non-committed, open-ended relationships not geared toward pursuing marriage, we are continuing to make dating a system doomed to failure. So, what can you do? Ladies who are on the other side of this, what can you do? We have to stand up and say no to operating in the current dating system without question or constraint, and no to men who aren't serious about marriage. If you aren't serious, the answer is no. If you don't know what you're doing with yourself, the answer is no. If you don't know your own purpose, how can you lead me? Okay. But how am I supposed to get married if I'm not dating? Dating is the way it's mostly done today. We're pretty much stuck with the system. But we can make some changes in how we approach dating and help ourselves out. Now I'm talking to ladies. The saying goes that you never know until you ask. Yes. So let's ask some questions of these gentlemen who are pursuing you. Number one, what is your intentions and motive? What is your intention and motive? As grown women, your dates don't often pick you up at your parents' home and have to face an adult, right? So your question needs to be to him, what is your intention and motive? All right? Sometimes women are hesitant to ask men about their intentions up front. Instead, they get to a certain point in a relationship and then they issue the let's get married or break up ultimatum. So you have to find middle ground. You have to start out by asking, what is your intention and motive? And I'm going to tell you like this. With my friends who were single, who would bring guys around, I would ask them, okay, I know you like my friend. I know she's attractive. I know she's a wonderful woman. I know she has plans for her future. Now, what is your intention? I don't play that about my friends. So, if you bring him around, I'm going to ask him. If you haven't asked him yet, I'm going to ask him. So don't bring him to me, because I'm going to ask him. If you don't want me to ask him, don't bring him to me. I'm telling you now, if you come to me and you say, I want you to meet Tyrone, just as soon as I get an opportunity to say, hey, how you doing? How's everything going? What do you do for a living? You know, all the general questions. I'm going to give him a few minutes, but I'm getting around to, what are your intentions towards my friend? I sure am. Let's cut to the chase, because I don't want you to waste. Exactly. I don't want you to waste your time, and I don't want you to waste her time either. Because guess what? Guess who's going to have to be fishing for tissue to give it to my friend when you break her heart because you didn't know what the smack you were doing? So, ask his intentions and motive. There's no reason why you can't do that as a grown woman. All right? It's hard to imagine asking a man if he wants to get married when all he's proposed is dinner and a movie. But it's not too hard to steer the conversation in that direction during a meal. Questions about his plans and goals for the future should not send him running for the door, people. It's a red flag if you start asking him for his plans for the future and all of a sudden he got to get up and go. Grown men have plans for the future. Somebody put that on the screen. Grown men have plans for the future. And you do want to be married to a grown man. Asking him if he'd like to be married and have a family someday is a natural part of that conversation. If he turns pale, thank you, and gulps his drink, it's better to know he has a commitment issue after just one dinner than after dating 1 year. I'm going to say that again. It is better to know he has a commitment issue after just one dinner than dating after a year. Chances are this guy isn't a total stranger. It can't hurt to ask men what they think about marriage and family before you begin dating. Even if he never asks you out again, you've done a favor for the next girl in line. Number 2, ask about his history. Girl, he is so fine. Girl, he is so cute. What's that artist I just recently? I can't think of his last name right now. It won't come before me. But his first name is Terrence. He's a major actor. Has played in a lot of movies. I can't think of his last name. Anyway, well-known actor. He's been married a couple times. That's the name. Thank you. Terrence Howard. People now know that Terrence Howard is a woman beater. But it took several women being in relationships with him that now people know in the broader spectrum that this dude is a woman beater. And yet women still clamor to be in a relationship with him after they know that he's beat up his previous girlfriends and his previous wife. Question number 2, ask about his history. Ask about the previous relationships and why they ended. And here's a red flag. If he answers the question with blaming every single girl that he's been with on why their relationship ended and nothing is ever his fault, red flag. If everything is always about the woman and what she was doing and how she wasn't this and she wasn't that, and he never admits in any of those relationships that were called off that he played a part in why they ended, red flag. Red flag. If you're buying a car, you want to know about the mileage, the service history, previous accidents, previous owners. But some people get into relationships and they don't want to know anything about the past. That's dangerous. Ask about his history. This is the rest of your life we are talking about. Don't require less from your date than you would of a car dealership. don't require less of the person you would spend the rest of your life with than you would from Carfax. Ask about his history. Do you have friends that know him? Ask your friends about them. Get all the information you can. Ask your pastor. Ask your coworkers. Ask people you know in common. So you're getting the information so that you can do what? Make an informed decision. Not just a decision based on your emotions, not just a decision based on desperation, but you're making an informed decision. I got 3 more points and I'm done for today. Be honest. Let him know where you stand. My stance was very clear. I don't date. I only believe in courting. Courting for me means that you are with me for the intention of marriage, for you to see if I am marriage suitable, help suitable for you. That's it. And here are my boundaries. And if you can't respect my boundaries, then this is going nowhere. So be honest. Let them know where you stand. If you're in a relationship and you want to get married, talk about that. Don't pretend that you don't want to get married just to keep him interested. Women do this. I don't know why, but they do. Be honest. If marriage is what you are looking for, if you're at that place in your life where you do not want to play games, you don't want to be dating for no 3 and 5 and 10 years, you need to be honest and upfront about that. Set limits. Number 4. Set limits. Set time limits with the men you date. If you're going to do dating, make sure you have a time limit, whether it's serious or not, whether the dates is serious or not. As I've said before, you cannot get your time back if the relationship fails. One woman, for example, her set limit was when a boyfriend told her he wasn't sure if he was ready to marry her. Together, they agreed to date for 3 months, and at the end of that time, to get engaged or break up. They acknowledged that if their relationship was not headed toward marriage, they were keeping the other person from meeting someone who could be a potential mate. Don't be having no long, drawn-out dating stuff going on. If that person recognizes that we've been in a relationship 3 months, 6 months, and I realize I just cannot see myself spending the rest of my life with you. I can't see myself looking across the table at you for the next 50 years. I can figure that. Good morning from Jamaica. Good day from Jamaica. I can figure that out in 3 to 6 months, whether or not I want to be sitting across from you for the next 50 years. So don't waste people's time. Set time limits and stick to them. And lastly, just say no. Number 5, just say no. When you know a guy isn't your type or worth your time, just say no. When you know he has a history of non-commitment, just say no. When you know he just wants to play at the dating game, just say no. When you know the relationship isn't going anywhere, just say no more. Don't waste your time just because you don't have anything better to do or anyone better to do it with. Learn how to be alone. Learn to enjoy your me time. Okay? So with the inherent drawbacks to dating, it is time to just say no. We can do these kinds of things and find some success. But if you really want to say no and change the system, it is time to look at the value of enlisting agency. And that's something that we'll probably talk about next Tuesday. What does she mean by enlisting agency or enlisting help? All right. So today we talked about just say no. Dating gives men too much time and too little accountability. And also dating promotes a lack of equality between the sexes. One person has the upper hand while the other person is hoping and praying for a good decision or a good choice. All right. We aren't going to get to the family piece today, so I will probably come back on Wednesday. I'll do tomorrow and we'll look a little bit into the family piece. I didn't want to hold you all beyond 12. Thank you all for tuning in today. I hope that I have said something that was encouraging. I hope that I have said something that was helpful to you if you are a single, if you are a person who is pursuing marriage, who are pursuing relationships. Please don't waste anyone's time and don't let anybody waste your time. Make sure that you are in a productive relationship. Make sure you're in a relationship that honors God. Make sure that you are in a relationship where you're getting something out of that relationship. And it's not just you giving everything and that relationship is not healthy and it's not reciprocal. This has been another Daring Dialogues. I hope that you will join me tomorrow for Wednesday, Wisdom Wednesday, and that is at 11 a.m. If you want to reach me, check out my information in the bio. If you want to drop a donation, also my information is there in the bio as well. All right. Thank you so much for your time and attention. Take care and God bless. And tomorrow we will also cover a little bit more on the prophets. So we will talk about family. We'll start out first with family and then we will talk about the prophets. All right, let's see if Periscope is going to release me.